Hello all, welcome to this session on authorization module, also called Authz module of Cosmos SDK. I'm Hemansai from Vitwit. So this is going to be the outline for the session. First, we'll discuss about what is authorization module and what are the built-in authorizations that are available in Cosmos SDK's authorization module, and what are the messages that are available. And I will also see how to interact with the Authz module using CLI. So first of all, what is authorization module? So it's also called Authz module. So Authz module is an implementation of ADR30. So what it says is, using this module, we can allow some other account to perform transactions on behalf of one account. So let's say there are two accounts. Consider one as grantor and consider the other one as a grantee. So now the person, the account, this grantor can grant an authorization. Let's say he want this person, this grantee, to uh, perform vote transaction on behalf of grantor. So what this grantor can do is he can grant the Authz permission to this grantee. So here grantor is an account which gives the authorization, and grantee is the account which takes that authorization and can use that authorization. There are several types of authorizations that are available in Authz module. The first one is a generic authorization. So here generic authorization means, so let's say we want some other person to vote on behalf of us. So what we can do is we can grant him an vote permission so that that person can vote. And the thing is, whatever the vote transaction that other account performs is done from our account, but we will not do that. It is executed from the different account using this Authz permission. So in generic authorization, we can grant different type of permissions like send authorization, vote authorization, delegate, undelegate, withdraw rewards. What are the different messages that are available in Cosmos SDK? We can grant all those authorizations using this generic authorization. And the next one is send authorization. Here send authorization is, we will allow another account to perform transfers on behalf of our account. So we have this message send transaction, right? So if we give this permission, whatever the transaction that is performed, for the transaction the amount will be deducted from the grantor's account. So here grantee will execute the transaction, but the amount gets deducted from the grantor's account. We'll see that using an example in the next slide. So in send authorization, we need to specify, like we need to provide, let's say I am the grantor. So what I'll do is I'll provide the grantee address, the person who is going to be granted, and I will also provide the amount. Let's say I'll restrict the amount to 100 items. So he can send up to 100 items on behalf of my account, and we will also provide the expiration date. So what happens is, using that expiration date, we can, the permission, the Authz permission gets revoked automatically after that particular time period. Next one is stake authorization. So generally when it comes to staking module, we have different messages like delegation, undelegation, redelegation. So what this stake authorization does is, using this particular thing, we can allow another person to delegate. And the thing is here, the good thing is we can even specify the list of validators. We call it as a allowed list. So what we'll do is, in that particular allow list, we'll provide, let's say I want that person, the grantee, to only delegate to 3 validators. So what I'll do is I'll provide those 3 validator addresses in this particular allow list. So in that case, that particular grantee can only delegate to the validators which are mentioned in the allow list. And similarly deny list also, we can restrict that particular grantee from delegating to the validators that are present in this deny list. That's about stake authorization. And these are the messages that are available in Authz module. So message grant. So using this message grant, we can give the Authz permission to another account. So here, if we give this message grant multiple times, what happens is it will override the previous one. Let's say I am granting message send authorization to one account, and again I am doing the same. So what happens is the previous authorization gets overridden by the next one. That's message grant. And message revoke. So this helps us to revoke that particular Authz permission which is given to the other account. And the message exit. So using this, so let's say we have granted the message send permission. So the grantee have to utilize this particular message in order to do any transaction using this Authz permission. So whatever the transaction that needs to be done using Authz needs to be done using message exec. Yeah. Now this is an example of send authorization. Let's say there are three accounts. The first one is grantor and the second one is grantee. So what grantor does is he granted send authorization to this grantee with a spend limit of 100 atom. So now this particular person can execute that Authz permission. So let's say he wants to send 10 atom to this particular account called a receiver. So now whatever the transaction that does will be happen from this account. So here he's sending 10 atom. So that 10 atom gets deducted from this particular grantor account. And here it will also check the spend limit. So at each end block, for every end block, what happens is it will check the spend limit also. So it gets updated. So here 10 atoms are being sent to this account. So 10 atom get deducted from this grantor account and the leftover amount is 90. So if it gets crossed, that particular Authz permission gets revoked automatically. And if this grantee tries to send the amount which is more than spend limit, then it is not allowed, it gets failed. So this is an example of send authorization. Yeah. Now there are some CLI commands in order to interact with this Authz module. We'll see them practically. So here I have a testnet, initialized a testnet, and I've started the testnet. Now, so I'll list the accounts that are available. So there are three accounts which are available, and the first one is the main account. Now, what I'll do is, let's see here. Here there are some queries. Query grants for a grantor grantee pair. So using this particular query command, what we can do is we can list all the grants that are granted by this grantor to this grantee. We need to provide the grantor address and the grantee address. So similarly, these are the commands that are available. Now, so we can see grants by grantee, grants by grantor. Now, if I run this first command, that is grants query Authz grants, and I'll take one address. I'll take this address. Okay. Now, if I run this simd query Authz grants by grantee command, Yeah. These are the commands that are available in Authz module. So grants by grantee, and grants by grantor. So if I query, so these are the accounts keys that are available. I'll try to query the grants granted to this particular account. So to this particular account, there is one authorization which is given, that's send authorization, and we can also find the spend limit here. So here, this is the grantor account and this is a grantee account. So this account give the Authz permission to send to this account. So this is how we can query the grants to particular account. So if I try to query for another account, so here this particular account is not having any grants. Now let's see like how to execute an Authz grant. So here, so these are the keys that are available. So for this particular account, there is one authorization, that is send authorization. So send authorization is available. So in order to execute any transaction, that is Authz transaction, first thing we need to do is we need to generate the transaction. So here we need to generate an unsigned transaction. So how to do that unsigned transaction is, so here, so this is a send transaction, this is a simple send transaction. So uh, like we need to write this command same as the normal send transaction command. So here at the end what we need to do is we have to provide a flag, generate only flag. So what it does is, if we run this command, it will give the transaction, it gives a transaction in JSON format. So it's an unsigned transaction, so we need to execute that transaction. So what we'll do is we'll save that particular transaction in a JSON file. So now I saved that transaction in a JSON file. Let's check that. So that particular transaction is stored in the JSON file. We can see it's a send transaction. We have the from address, we have the to address, and we have the amount. So now in order to execute this thing, we have Authz exec command. So cmd tx Authz. So we have exec command. Generally in Authz transaction we have execute, grant, and revoke. So in order to execute, we need to use this exec command. cmd tx Authz. So yeah, now we can see the format. So at the end we need to provide the file exec and the file exec, and the file name is and from. So now I've done the transaction. Let's query this transaction and check. So now I've queried this transaction. So yeah, it is successful, and we can see the messages. So the messages is like we have cosmos.authz.v1 beta1 message exec. This is the message, and in that we have the grantee and the messages that are being executed. So we have the send transaction as we have mentioned in that particular JSON file. So from this account to this account, 10 stake is being transferred. So this is done using Authz exec. So first we need to generate that particular transaction, generate an unsigned transaction, and then we need to use this exec command and provide that particular JSON file in order to finish the transaction. So we can see that it got finished. This is how we will execute. Similarly, we also have the commands for revoke and for grant. So this is how the grant command works. So we need to provide the type of authorization and the grantor address. And similarly for revoking the authorization also, we need to use this revoke command, provide that particular grantee, and let's say I have granted send message, so I have to provide that send message. Then using that I can revoke that particular transaction from that grantee. Yeah, yeah, that's it for this session. And whatever the things that are being used displayed in this particular PPT are being taken from Cosmos documentation and Cosmos SDK GitHub repository. That's it. Thanks for watching.